In-depth movie highlights here, tapping in with another on. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. The show opens up in a cafe, where a middle-aged man is nervously staring at the clock on his phone. As soon as it hits 1:20 p.m., he becomes anxious and starts looking around. Nothing happens for a few seconds, but suddenly, a loud bang is heard across the city, surprising the citizens. Then, three supernatural human-like creatures break into the cafe. They are continuously emitting black smoke, and their faces are scary. As everyone starts running in horror, the creatures approach the same man from before and start throwing him around like a rag doll. The man somehow manages to escape, and he runs to the main highway. However, the stubborn creatures are not willing to give up so easily, so they chase him. After an intense pursuit, the monsters finally catch the man and dish out a brutal punishment. After he becomes lifeless, they lay him on the road and perform a ritual which burns him instantly. Now that the man is dead, and his soul has been extracted, the three creatures disappear into thin air. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Junkie, the chairman of a notorious cult group named The New Truth. He regularly preaches his theories and has gained quite a fan following. One day, he claims that sinister people are bound to be punished by God and sent to hell. He also reveals that whenever a person commits a sin, an angel-like figure will appear and tell them the exact time of their death. The scene then switches to a police station, where a laid-back detective, Junkie, arrives late at a case briefing. He notices that the entire police department is talking about the three creatures. Because the murder happened in broad daylight, many witnesses have recorded the incident. Junkie is taken aback to witness the supernatural beings, and after the meeting is over, he and his partner on Power are assigned to investigate the incident. Wasting no time, the two detectives arrive at the crime scene and try to find some evidence. In particular, they look for footprints, but don't find any. They also can't find any DNA traces. Hence, tired of all the dead ends, Junkie decides to ask help from someone who knows a great deal about the creatures. He is none other than the cult leader, Junkie. Shortly after, the two detectives arrive at a gathering where Junkie is displaying images of people who were killed by the supernatural monsters. He claims that whenever someone is supposed to die, an angel appears in front of them and reveals their exact time of death. The only way to avoid their demise is by living a peaceful life, with no sins involved. After the meeting ends, Junkie notices his daughter Hee-jung there and realizes that she is also a follower of the cult group. Following this, the detectives try to interrogate Junkie, but he only talks about his personal life. He reveals that when he was 20 years old, he wanted to commit the unthinkable. But fortunately, when he saw the three supernatural beings, he changed his mind instantly. Junkie believes that the creatures have come to Earth to give justice to human beings. So, when he saw the creatures for the first time, he formed the New Truth group to make people aware about the creatures. However, Junkie simply laughs it out and states that the laws made by humans are perfectly fine. Counterattacking his argument, Junkie reminds Junkie how his wife was murdered and how the killer is still moving freely to this day. Meanwhile, we are shown a single mother, Park Young-ja, who returns home after a long day at work. To her surprise, her children welcome her with a birthday cake. But as the entire family is rejoicing at the moment, suddenly an angel-like figure appears out of nowhere and reveals that Park will die after 5 days at 3 p.m. Park's son, who is ready to capture his mother's reaction, accidentally captures the angel-like figure. On the other hand, a popular live streamer is shown. He claims to be a member of another faction known as the Arrowhead. Surprisingly, in this group, all the members are teenagers. They do not care about the law and always beat up people who go against their beliefs. It is also revealed that the Arrowheads are inspired by the ideologies of the New Truth. However, Junkie asserts that his group is not associated with the Arrowhead. The following day, the woman from earlier, Park, meets up with Junkie and reveals everything about the incident. She also shows the video evidence recorded by her son. After calculating everything, a confident Park gives her an offer. She will be handed 3 billion won, but in exchange, her death will be broadcasted live on TV. Realizing that her sons will be alone after she dies, Park agrees to the deal. In the next scene, Junkie arrives at Park's house with a check of 3 billion. By this time, several media personnel have already caught wind of this experiment. After the documents are signed, Junkie looks around the house and curiously asks Park if she committed a crime to get into this situation. However, Park doesn't answer and simply remains silent. She is then prepared for the live stream, but her identity will be kept secret, fearing that the religious freaks will attack her. The scene then shifts to the Arrowhead live streamer, who is preaching the ideologies of the New Truth. He also discusses the three supernatural creatures, which have wreaked havoc across the city. In the middle of the stream, someone anonymously talks about Park and reveals that she is the one who will die after 5 days. To make matters worse, her address is also leaked. Later, it is revealed that the person who shared Park's information with the Arrowhead is none other than Unpyo. All this time, he is an officer by day and a built Arrowhead follower by night. At night, Kyung returns home and searches for his daughter. When he fails to find her, he calls Hee-jung and asks about her whereabouts. The latter lies to her father, "I'm at my friend's." But to everyone's surprise, it is revealed that she is actually at Jung's apartment. After Jung tells her that she can trust him, Hee-jung starts narrating how her mother was murdered. One day, when she was little, her mother sent her to deliver clothes to her father. The little girl easily got distracted, and so, her mother decided to go by herself. Unfortunately, on the way, she was killed by a bunch of bad people. In the present, Hee-jung mentions that ever since the incident, she has been unable to forgive herself. Hearing all this, Jung hugs her and assures her that he and his group will catch the murderer and provide justice. Meanwhile, after learning that someone has leaked Park's information on the internet, a lawyer named Hye-jin decides to help. She takes Park's children to safety and sends them away to Canada. Elsewhere, Jung takes Hee-jung to the criminal who murdered her mother. He then provokes her to do something in order to take revenge. Hee-jung does just that, and she starts beating up the man. In a fit of rage, she even finishes him off. Later, the two incinerate the bodies and pay their respects. Surprisingly, Hee-jung, who has just killed someone, starts smiling. She seems to be proud of what she just did. The next day, the police find the remains of the man in a charred condition, similar to what the supernatural creatures have been doing. This makes the general people believe that whatever the New Truth group were saying is true. Together, the Arrowheads and the members of the New Truth gather outside Park's house and demand she confesses her sins before her death. Some of the Arrowheads also barge into the police station and attack them, demanding to release their fellow members. In the next scene, the day of Park's destined death finally arrives. We get to know that the demonstration is not only being broadcasted on the internet but also on major TV channels. A number of VIPs also arrive at the place, wearing a mask to hide their identity. Turns out that they have paid a hefty price to watch the demonstration up close. Soon, Park is brought on stage, but she is too scared to speak. She simply waits for her impending doom. When the clock hits 3 p.m., nothing happens for a couple of seconds, but suddenly a loud bang is heard, and the three supernatural black creatures emerge through the walls. They quickly attack Park and throw her against a wall. Meanwhile, Kyung, who is witnessing everything, decides to take matters into his own hands. He pulls out a gun and hits one of the monsters with a few shots. However, as expected, it doesn't affect them at all. When Kyung tries getting closer to the creature, it simply punches him away. After a while, the creatures finish off Park and incinerate her. They then leave the scene by jumping and disappearing in thin air. Because of the strange occurrence, all the onlookers become terrified and bow down in respect. They start believing that Jung was right after all. The next morning, Kyung wakes up in a hospital, completely healed from his injuries. When he gets out, he learns that the entire city has become empty as the residents are too scared of committing a sin. He then goes to his office and turns on the TV to watch Jung being interviewed by a news channel. During the interview, Jung reveals that the demonstration was just a God's message and that everyone should return to their normal lives righteously. He says, "I plan to look for God's traces until he calls me again." Meanwhile, Kyung goes through the CCTV recording footage and notices his daughter punishing her mother's murderer. At the same time, he takes a closer look at Jung's interview, where he notices his daughter's sweatshirt. Because of this, Kyung immediately leaves his office and heads to find his daughter. On the other hand, the Arrowhead streamer is discussing the previous day's funeral. He reveals that after the creatures killed their target and left, most of the people bowed down in respect. However, the lawyer, Hye-jin, and her colleague didn't respond at all. The streamer conveys the secret to anyone and soon people start rioting to kill the duo. Hye-jin gets to know of this and immediately departs for office, along with her ill mother. Sadly, when she reaches there, leaving her mother in the parking lot, she notices that the office has been vandalized by the members of the Arrowhead. Hye-jin then tries to call her colleague for help, but gets to know that he is in an even worse condition. Apparently, the goons have beaten him up badly. Realizing that she is the next target, Hye-jin runs to the parking lot, only to find her mother being attacked by the Arrowheads. After a while they leave and Hye-jin immediately rushes her mother to the hospital. Sadly, it is too late as she dies before getting any treatment. In the next scene, Kyung enters Jung's apartment to find his missing daughter. He doesn't find anyone, and exits the building, but just then, some angry goons start attacking him. Kyung is almost beaten to a pulp, but fortunately, Jung calls him in the nick of time and orders everyone to stand down. He then asks Kyung to meet him at a nearby school. On the other hand, a distraught Hyejin meets a reporter named Pastor Kim, who apparently interviewed Jung 20 years back. The latter is skeptical about sharing his information, but after a lot of convincing, he agrees. Pastor Kim then plays an audio recording which uncovers a shocking truth. Apparently, when Jung was just a kid, the same angel approached him and revealed that he will die exactly at 20 years. The time will be 10:30 p.m. Hyejin finds the news very informative and asks for the recording, however, the pastor deletes it. Meanwhile, Kyung arrives at the abandoned school and finds Jung waiting for him. Without wasting any time, the latter reveals that he was met by the angel 20 years ago. However, the strange thing is that he never committed a sin. This implies that the creatures do not target the people who have committed sins. It is a random selection so anyone can get killed, even a saint. Jung further explains that he formed the group The New Truth to spread his message that sinners should be punished. In other words, he instilled fear into the minds of people and now they have to think twice before doing anything drastic. As the conversation goes on, Jung threatens Kyung to keep his prophecy a secret or else his group will expose his daughter, Hee-jung's video in which she murdered a man. At last, before the supernatural creatures arrive and beat him up to death, Jung tells Kyung to enjoy his life to the fullest. He also says, "Please take care of my remains." The clock then ticks 10:30 p.m. and the supernatural black monsters arrive there. Just like the previous instances, they throw him around like a rag doll and kill him. And before leaving, they chant some prayers and incinerate him, as if nothing has happened. Meanwhile, Hyejin is still with Pastor Kim, trying to find clues on the recent incidents. She keeps asking him for information but to no avail. Fed up, she decides to leave but Kim stops her and reveals that Jung asked him to kill her and take his position as chairman. Hearing this, an alarmed Hyejin somehow manages to escape, but when she reaches outside, she finds the arrowheads waiting for her. They beat her to a pulp until she stops moving. In the last scene, Hyung returns home and finds his daughter waiting for him. Now, he is faced with a serious challenge as he has to keep his daughter's secret hidden. The episode ends as we see Hyejin's body lying dead among the rocks, under a bridge. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content.